Although I enjoyed a lot of my time with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I couldn't help but notice while playing through the game that there were several features I felt would have improved the experience, even if only in a minor way. Some obviously more majorly, and some that I just thought would be kind of cool for the player to have in the game, or maybe just cool for me to have in the game, I guess. In this video, I wanted to go over 5 things that I want to see added into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's actually 7, I have 7 things, but I can't put 7 things in the title because that's just doesn't work very well for the algorithm. So I thought we'd do this as part of the advent calendar, because why not? I've been uploading videos every single day. Currently this is only the 3rd, but I'll continue to do so until December 25th. So check out the link in the description and watch all the other advent calendar videos. They're tons of fun. I promise. They're good times. Go check them out. Anyway, let's get into my 5, I really mean 7, things that I would like to see added into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But before all that, this video is brought to you by the Ridge wallet. Is your old wallet falling apart, unnecessarily big, old? Well, Ridge has got you covered. It holds up to 12 cards with a clip for cash on the back, and there's over 30 colors. You got your carbon fiber, you've got your burnt titanium, you've got your forged carbon, anything you want. Personally, I went with the matte black because I like the sleek and simple look. It's incredibly durable, and each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty, so effectively you could use these same wallets for the rest of your life, and they also provide a service that allows you to test drive for 45 days, so if you aren't happy, you can send it back for a full refund, so it can't even hurt to give one a go. There's a reason they have over 30,000 5-star reviews though. And on top of that, don't forget the RFID blocking technology, which protects against digital pickpocketing, which is a huge benefit. If you're interested, head to my link in the description, ridge.com/lasers, and use code lasers for 10% off at the checkout. That's ridge.com/lasers and using code lasers for 10% off. The first thing is something pretty small, but I always felt that it would have been super helpful while playing through the game, and that's auto-reslotting runes. As you upgrade different pieces of gear, you unlock rune slots to equip special upgrades to each piece of gear. They're minor things, they're not incredibly major, but they allow you to do things like attack a bit faster, have more resistance to fire damage, or things like that. When you switch from a piece of gear to another piece of gear, your runes stay on the piece of gear you had previously. It would be nice to have a feature where, say, when I switch from one piece of gear to another, it gives me the option to reslot the runes where appropriate. So if I had 2 runes on the previous item and then I had 3 rune slots on the new one, it would take those and add them, and then I'd have a spare gap at the bottom. Or vice versa, if I had 3, it would reslot the 2 of them, and maybe you could choose which one you wanted to discard for now. It would just be useful when switching gear pieces, so that I didn't have to switch the gear piece, then rummage around through my list of runes to be able to get the one that I wanted back on the gear piece. Similar to the way that Final Fantasy VII Remake allows you to reslot materia when switching gear pieces in that game, whether that be weapons or armor or accessories. Like I said, it's a little thing, but it will really add this new level of quality of life to the game. Now, the second thing is something that I think a lot of us can get behind, and that's the addition of one-handed swords. Now, in this game, we have a wide range of weapons. You got your spears, you got your big swords, you got your big axes, you got your smaller axes, you got your knives, you got your spinny things on the chain. But you don't, for some reason, have one-handed swords. Enemies have one-handed swords, and you can even use them in some finishing moves, but you can't use them. It's very odd, considering it's honestly probably one of my favorite weapons, and it's an incredibly common and often used weapon in medieval combat. It's just odd to me that you can use all of these varieties of different tools, but you can't use one-handed swords. I would honestly love if in an update down the line they added in the ability to use one-handed swords in one way or another. It would be so good. You can use great swords in just one slot if you get the upgrade, but they still just work like regular great swords. And you can have short blades like daggers, and I've found that pretty cool to use in combat. It's very assassin-like, but I would very much love to see one-handed swords return at some point in the future in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, here's something I think would be really cool, and that's the ability to keep my hood up at all times, even when in combat and even when detected. Now, I'm not saying to be able to leave myself cloaked at all times, just to be able to toggle wearing my hood. Now, the way that I envision this working is that somewhere in the pause menu, you'd be able to select that you want your hood up. And what would happen is, you would leave your hood up all the time, however, your cloak would not wrap around you. So your weapons would still be visible, your armor would still be visible, you would not be in low profile. You'd still be high profile, you'd just be wearing your hood. Then when you go into the menu and you activate your cloak, Eivor would then wrap the cloak around themselves, and then you'd be in low profile, so you were able to social stealth through an area. When you then get out of the distrust zone and you want to go back into high profile, be able to do combat climb, things like that you would normally do without your cloak, for example, you can then remove the cloak in the menu, but Eivor wouldn't take their hood down, they'd leave their hood up, you just have the cloak then flowing behind you. I think this would be really cool. For one, it would mean that you're able to always have your hood up and feel like Assassin's Creed. Two, it wouldn't mess with the social stealth mechanic they've got in place, because the cloak would still work exactly as it's meant to. And third, I just really like the cloak physics when you don't have it around you. I love that. It feels very old school Assassin's Creed, and so I think it would just be incredibly nice to be able to have that option somewhere in the menu to always have your hood up and have the cloak feature purely for wrapping the cloak around you and removing the cloak from around you for social stealth without changing where the hood is. Just let me keep the hood up when I want. I think that would be really cool. I don't think that would be too difficult to do, and honestly, that's maybe my number one thing that I want to see, just because I just would love to be able to do that. I just think it looks so cool. That in-between animation where Eivor's putting their hood up, but they haven't quite wrapped the cloak around them, just looks so good. Especially with the different assassin robes you can get in the game. Oh man, I really want to see this. Now, the fourth thing that I have on my list is kind of a small one, and we kind of do have it, but when you're stealthing, I would love to have tools at my disposal to lure guards. Similar to what we saw in Assassin's Creed Unity with various different bombs you could throw out, or lures that we see in Ghost of Tsushima. If a game is going to focus heavily on stealth, which Assassin's Creed Valhalla does, and I think it does it in a pretty good way, I'm really satisfied with the way that stealth works in the game, it would be nice to have an item that you can use to lure guards. Sometimes you'll see a big group of them sitting in a camp or something, and I just can't get to them. I can't take them out. How do I lure them away? Sometimes you can whistle, and that might work. But when you're up on a perch and you're seeing them down below, you could try firing an arrow, and sometimes they'll walk over to it, but then that risks being detected and going into high profile and getting into combat. Whereas it would be nice if there was a tool I could use to just throw off to the side that would attract guards over to it. Maybe it's something you could get from Hytham at the settlement. It would just add a little bit more diversity to what you're able to do during the stealth scenarios, and I think it would add a lot more player agency in those scenarios. It's not a big thing, but it is something that I would like to see nonetheless. Now, the fifth thing I have is something that I believe was said to be in the game when it was first announced, but since was seemingly removed, and that's the ability to dye your outfits different colors. I just think it would add that sense of player control and player choice and customization that we've had in other Assassin's Creed games. It just seems odd to me that you can't customize these outfits beyond their base appearances. Obviously, you can upgrade them at blacksmiths and you'll get various different types, but I do find it strange that there's no dyeing ability to be able to change my outfit's color. I love the Hidden Ones robes, I really, really do, and honestly, the color did grow on me, but if I could dye them to be white and red, oh my god, that would be perfect. And the same goes for other outfits in the game. I would love to be able to change the colors around and customize it to my liking. Maybe that's something you could add at the same time as adding the feature to allow us to revert our looks to other gear pieces, or alternate the way that particular gear looks without changing the stats. It's probably a bit of a stretch to expect that they might add dyeing, but it is something I would like to see in the game if possible. Next thing is something, again, simple, like all of these things have kind of been, but that's the ability to toggle walking. Now, in this game, in order to use social stealth, it depends on your distance to guards, but also your walking speed. And so the slower you walk, the less detectable you are at a distance. The faster you go, the more obvious it's going to be that it's you and the guards are going to detect you. Now, my issue here is the fact that I can't set the speed to just walking when I'm holding the stick fully forwards. It would help because sometimes when you're trying to hold the stick in this really specific place that's not all the way forward, but it's not all the way back, and you're trying to move the camera at the same time, sometimes your hand-eye coordination can mess up and you'll go a bit too slow, or you'll go a bit too quick and then you'll get detected. And I think that it would just be useful, because I know it's a feature they have on PC, to be able to just toggle to just walk. And then obviously it gives you a higher range of movement. When you're holding the stick just in the middle, you're going to walk really slow. When you push it all the way forwards, you're just going to walk at your top walk speed. But you're going to be restricted, so you can't start sprinting when you don't want to. And that's just an issue that I've had, and also it's just an immersion thing. I like walking in games. It was always a thing in the old Assassin's Creeds. I would love if I had the ability to just be able to walk without having to hold the stick in this position where you've got to hold it exactly right so that you don't change your walk speed. It's just incredibly irritating, and it would be so nice to be able to walk in Assassin's Creed again. And my final thing is something a bit more major, and I don't think we're going to see it just because of how the game is built, but I would love the ability to replay arcs. I understand not being able to replay specific quests because the game is so open-ended that would be incredibly difficult to achieve, but the ability to replay these set arcs would seem a lot more doable to me. Obviously, there are instances where you're making choices and doing things that changes the outcome of the game, but I think by adding these arcs back in to just replay whenever you feel like it, those choices don't need to really do anything. It's the animus. It doesn't matter. You've already made that initial choice, and the game will save that initial choice regardless of the choices you make later. It won't overwrite what you did previously. You're just replaying it for fun, and so I think that it would be a lot more doable, because I don't want to have to play the entire game again to do the Winchester arc. I would love to just go and replay it right now. It was so much fun playing through London, Jorvik, Winchester. I want to play them again, but I don't want to play the whole game to get there. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see this one, but I would really like to see it, and I think it would just add that replay value to the game, allowing me to go back and experience parts of the game that I really liked without having to go through the entire experience again. And that's it. Those are my 5, really 7, things that I would like to see added into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. If we can get even one of these things, I would love to see it added into the game. I think reslotting runes is a great quality of life thing. One-handed swords would feel incredibly satisfying and would add a new dynamic to combat that I think would be really great for people like me and old school fans that are used to that one-handed sword combat. Being able to keep my hood up at all times but keep that social stealth mechanic intact would be fantastic, and honestly that might be my pick for thing that I really want to see. An item to lure guards would mean that we're able to do more with the stealth system. Dyeing outfits would mean we're able to customize these outfits that we really like to our liking. Toggle walking speed would make things more immersive, easier to handle, and way better when you're in social stealth scenarios. And the ability to replay arcs would mean we're able to revisit parts of the game that we loved without having to replay the entire length of this game again. Let me know the things that you want to see added into Assassin's Creed Valhalla down in the comment section below. I'd really be interested to know if there's anything in this list that you particularly never thought of but were really interested in, or if there's something I didn't say that you think would be really useful. Go ahead and leave it down in the comment section below. And if Ubisoft is listening, I would just appreciate if any of these things were added. If not, I guess I get it, but like, it would still be really nice to see. Thank you everybody for the continued support. Thank you everybody over on Patreon. And thank you everybody for your continued enthusiasm with the Advent Calendar. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode of the Advent Calendar. Have a good one. I'll see you soon. Merry Christmas. Goodbye.